Hi, welcome to the Rittners Floral School in Boston, Mass. I'm Dr. Steve Rittner, and it's a pleasure to welcome you into one of our classrooms today. We've got a neat demonstration planned for you. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. Time of the year, Easter. So we're going to do an Easter arrangement, and I think you're going to find this one lots of fun. With all of our arrangements, we start with a container, and we've got the perfect container for the holiday, an Easter basket. Now it's a really pretty container. It's got the pink and the green and the blue and the yellow, and it really feels Eastery. But with any of these baskets, we have to consider it won't cover foam or water media because it'll leak like a sieve. So in order to make use of these baskets appropriately, we have to put a container inside a container, and that's exactly what we have here. We have a container in place here, and we've got our foam in it, and we're just about ready to go in terms of our arrangement. We're going to use some cool things in this arrangement, and I think you'll enjoy it because I'm going to start off with one of my favorite materials. This is called Bells of Ireland. Now, you might normally associate Bells of Ireland more with something like St. Patrick's Day than Easter, but I got news for you. This stuff is gorgeous. It's big, it's showy, it makes all kinds of curves in terms of the form of the thing. And because it's green, it'll blend in with just about anything that we want to do. And the thing I like about it is, notice my viewer, I take a piece of this stuff and I put it in there, and it's big. Look at it. It really creates quite a lot of height. So the neat thing about this kind of material is, notice that right from the get-go, with one piece, we've got something that is going to be fairly good sized, just simply because we've got one of these pieces in there. And I'm not going to just stop with one. If one works well, maybe two will work even better. And so I'm going to place another one next to it, slightly over to one side. And then let's take another one and work a little piece of our Bells of Ireland over onto this side. So I think you can see, my viewer, that with only a few pieces of my Bells of Ireland, this design is not going to be teeny tiny. It's going to be a little bit, and that's half the fun of this, because it'll give us a big show and we won't really work all that hard at it in terms of coming up with that kind of show. Now, I'm going to do a few other things on this as well. Let's take some branchy stuff. I love branchy stuff. You guys know that I'm always incorporating branchy stuff into our arrangements, and so I'm going to take a little piece of my curly willow, place it over to one side. You can see that that really gives us quite an effect. I'm going to take a little bit more of our Bells of Ireland. I'm going to take a segment of a piece, and I'm going to work it over here. So I'm just gradually building this side of the design. Now, at this point, we've got some interesting things going on with our Bells of Ireland. We've got some curly willow shooting up, but let's have a little bit more substance in terms of the center of the design. And I'm going to deliberately take flowers that are available to us pretty much throughout the year, not necessarily spring materials. We could use things like iris and daffodils and tulips and that kind of stuff, hyacinths, and we often do. But I'm going to deliberately play it more with color. And I'm going to start by taking a few of my roses, and I'm going to place one rose right here. And I'm going to take a second rose, and I'm using yellow because yellow is often associated. Yellow and lavender are very, very good for this holiday. Let's take a second one. And then I'm going to take another one of my roses, and I'm going to work it in here. And I'm going to work this one in like a focal. But notice how I'm doing it, my viewer. I'm keeping this in here, almost giving me a gentle curve. See how I've done this? So it's really operating as a focal, but it's not really just down here. It's starting here and gradually weaving down. Now, let's build this thing up a little bit more. And I am going to take a flower that has gotten a lot of abuse over the last few years, and I don't think it's fair. It is one of the most beautiful flowers there are. It comes in a rainbow of colors. It is reasonably priced, and it's a very durable flower, and that is our carnation. And I'm deliberately taking some of our carnations, lavender carnations, that fit again very nicely with the holiday and with the theme of the holiday. And I'm going to work some of these in, and I'm going to mix them. So notice, my viewer, I'm using a rather unorthodox combination of things here. I'm not just taking spring type flowers. I'm taking roses, carnations, bells of Ireland. And yet, because I'm playing with the lavender and the yellow that are incorporated by our carnations and our roses, I'm getting the theme of the holiday across very, very nicely. And yet, at the same token, it doesn't feel like something that you would see all the time. So it's giving a different kind of feeling to it. Let's take another one of our carnations and work it in. I think you can see my viewer. I have a saying that I mentioned to my students here at Rittners Floral School. And the saying is, it's not necessarily what you use, it's what you do with it. And you'll notice that by taking our materials and playing with yellow, lavender, and working that against the green, I can come up with something that's pretty darn showy and pretty neat. And notice I'm not working very hard at all. I'm having a ball. I'm chatting with you guys. I'm telling you about what we're doing and how we're doing it. But it is really coming together quite nicely. Now, so far we've got some things going on with our carnations working here. I started here, like this. And I think you can see I'm probably going to have one coming down here. I'm playing almost like a step-like arrangement, working my way down, and a counterpoint to the curve of my roses. But before I do that, I want to add one more little bit of branchy stuff, because I want to get some branchy stuff coming over here. Just as I add here, I'm going to add another little piece of my curly willow, and I'm going to get it in. And it's easier for me to get my hands in there now, so I can get that in. That looks a little wild. Now at this point, I can take my last carnation that I want to use in this, and I can work it in over here. So I think you can see, my viewer, how this has come very, very nicely together in terms of our function. But you're probably saying to yourself, it looks interesting, it's cool, but it's kind of all over here. I mean, have you forgotten the rest of it? I mean, what's going to happen there? We haven't forgotten it at all, because we're going to do some cool things there too. I'm going to take another piece of our bells of Ireland, and I'm going to place it over here. So notice that up till now we were concentrating on this side. Now I've got something coming down over onto that side. And it's still a little bit empty over here, okay? But we're not going to forget that either, because what we're going to do is we're going to fill that space as well. And to fill that space, first of all, I want to get in something that feels very, very holiday-ish, and that is our bunny. This is a cute little novelty I found. Of course, bunnies and rabbits have become associated with Easter because they're very prolific. They make lots of babies. And Easter is a holiday that not only celebrates the resurrection of Jesus, but it also celebrates the renewal of spring, the rejuvenation of nature. And therefore, things like bunnies, eggs, and so forth have become very, very popular symbols that have become incorporated into this holiday. And notice I can place my little bunny in there, and it gives a really, really cool effect. And I'm just placing them in there. And so I'm sure some youngster in the family would enjoy taking the little bunny out later and playing with it, and it becomes kind of a family, a thing that can be passed along in the family. Isn't that interesting? Now at this point I do have to cover my mechanics. In other words, I still have some of my foam showing. And I've got a neat product here that I love using at this time of the year especially. This is called Excelsior. Sometimes they call it wood wool. It's essentially shreds of wood that are very, very fine, and they dye them different colors. And sometimes you may have seen this in packaging and in gift baskets and things. This stuff works really, really well, especially in something like this. It just works well because it feels appropriate and it feels kind of informal. And I'm taking some of this and just working it in between my stems. Obviously, this piece is a one-sided piece. And because it's a one-sided piece, I would take some of this, I'd work it around the back side. And those of you who've been following our videos know that I would generally take some wire. We would take a piece of wire and we would make U-shaped things. We call them hairpins, where we make these U-shaped type things, and then we would use that to attach into the back. and make sure that this doesn't fall out. But in between the flowers, it's not a problem. I would use some of these to add a little bit more of the excelsior onto the other side. So what do you think, my viewer? Isn't this amazing? It's not a small design. It's a fairly good sized piece. It gets the idea of Easter across. We've got our basket, we've got our lavender, our yellow, and we even have the symbolism of our little bunny in a cute little thing where he's driving his own little carrot car. Quick, easy, and fun. That's the Rittner Floral School way. On behalf of all of us here at Rittners Floral School, I want to thank you for coming in and visiting with us today. I'm Dr. Steve Rittner. We hope you have a great Easter, a very, very pleasant holiday. Thank you.